Hey everybody, I'm doing another discussion here that I haven't really done in a while with one of my friends. This is my friend Tom, and we're going to talk about Pokemon and some of the stuff that's been going on with it in the past month or so.
Yeah, there's been a big hullabaloo going on with the new Pokemon games, eh? The internet
Yeah,
the internet's ablaze. The keyboard warriors are attacking Game Freak head on. It's a full-on war out there on the Twitter. It's terrifying.
yeah. Um, so it was an interesting reveal like earlier this year when they revealed it back in what February, I think, because it was like on the anniversary of Pokemon.
Yeah,
Um,
that seems right. They did like it was kind of like a staggered release, right? Because they did like the first kind of reveal, like, hey, we're doing new Pokemon, Sword and
Yeah,
Shield.
and they oh yeah, well, this is what they're going to be called, and here are the new starters and what the region is called, and like a little bit of footage,
Right.
um, which they've done before with Sun and Moon and X and Y, but this one feels like it's ever since E3 ended, they have been sort of silent about revealing new stuff.
Well, I mean, they've put themselves in a pretty poor position with the Pokemon faithful, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, let's not even beat around the bush. Everybody knows what we're talking about, anyways.
Oh
Cutting the
yeah.
national decks was a huge blow to the hardest of the hardcore. And I feel kind of bad for Game Freak, honestly, because like they cut a feature that, like, let's be honest, like maybe like less than 10%, and that's like being super generous, even
Yeah.
use in these games. So like the silent majority, and by the silent majority I mean the silent like 99%, don't know or don't care. But the people who actually like evangelize your games, you've pissed all of them off. So it looks like everyone and their sister is like ready to kill Game Freak, when it's really not that big of a deal, but it is a big deal at the same time, because like the people who are really like solidifying your brand in the online discussion are the ones you've made the most angry, which probably
Yeah.
was not a great move
Which
in terms of
is funny.
PR.
Which is funny because uh, for a while, I've been sort of not into the games as much. I've just been like always interested in the news designs and everything each generation. But the last generation where I like really got into the games was Black and White. With Generation 5 because that was like their pinnacle of their 2D games.
Yeah. Um maybe you can probably back me up on this, possibly. Do you find that as you've gotten older, your patience for JRPGs has slowly dwindled?
I mean, no, not for me personally, because like the last like big JRPG I played was actually I've been playing through like all the Final Fantasies, but the last like really good one that came out was Octopath Traveler, and that's like an 80-hour game. So yeah, I still love JRPGs.
I
So
don't know what
it's
it
not
is for
that with
me. I
me.
used to
Yeah.
sink like tons of hours in like Pokemon and Final Fantasy 9 and Xenosaga and fucking Star Ocean till End of Time. I sunk tons of hours into these games, and for some reason now I just look at that. I'm like, oh, all that grinding, and like I'm just hitting buttons.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. So like, I mean, I still like sink ton of times into games. I put 60 hours into Neo, 50 hours into Dark Souls. So like, I'm totally fine with like spending a fuck ton of time in games, but it seems that I tend now to, like, if it's not like an active battle system sort of thing, I can't do it. But like even now, I still come back to Pokemon and play it again and kind of dick around for a little bit. And I remember the
Yeah.
series
Did you get
fondly.
the Let's Go, or was Let's Go the reason that you got a Switch?
It wasn't like the only reason, but I was excited for that game because I am a huge fan of Gen 1 and 2. Those are my favorite Pokemon generations. So seeing Kanto super shiny again, despite the fact that they changed a lot of the gameplay, was an interesting experiment, and I wanted to check it out. So I did get Let's Go, and I did enjoy it. Fight me, hardcore fans. It was good. It was fun. You're wrong.
Yeah, I
Contention.
mean, I liked it too. And I actually like completed the Pokedex in there, which I guess I won't be able to do in Sword and Shield.
Well,
Um,
oh boy. Yeah, so the Pokemon Company in general has kind of just been making good financial moves, but those financial moves are, pissing off their core base, because
yeah,
it's in their best interest to appeal to the lowest common denominator. And like with Pokemon Masters and Pokemon Go, like the Pokemon company, like it finally got across the pond. It's like, hey, microtransactions, we can just nickel and dime people
Yeah.
forever. Oh, and now they're kind of jumping on that bandwagon. It took them like a decade to kind of get the memo, but here we are. So I can understand if you're like someone who's a hardcore Pokemon fan, like super dedicated, like has every Pokemon ever, was looking forward to hitting quadruple digits in this generation of Pokemon. Having your franchise be so utterly steamrolled and just changed in terms of priorities, I suppose,
Yeah.
from a
And the
corporate
thing is,
standpoint.
like, people put up with everything that they have been doing for a while because it's like, well, at least I'll be able to have all my Pokemon. And when they had that conference, that wasn't like the direct, but the conference before they did the solo Pokemon direct, where they were talking about Pokemon Home and Pokemon Sleep and all that, and the fact that they're making like a sequel to Detective Pikachu on the Switch. Um, they were talking about Pokemon Home and saying like, oh yeah, you can take Pokemon from Pokemon Go and Let's Go and Pokemon Bank, and also take Pokemon from Pokemon Shield back and forth from it. And people were assuming that the fact that they showed Pokemon Bank on there, and you would be able to transfer everything from Pokemon Bank onto Pokemon Home, that you would be able to transfer everything from Pokemon Home to Pokemon Sword and Shield.
I mean, why would you think any different? There's like 20
Yeah.
years of history to back up that assumption.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and even when X and Y came out and they were talking about like, we know you've been for like years like training your Pokemon, and like there are some Pokemon from like back in the Game Boy Advance games that you want to carry with you over to the 3DS. So they announced Pokemon Bank as a way to do that.
yeah. It's just it's really interesting. I think another thing that's really kind of done some damage was the whole, like, as much as I liked Let's Go and I thought it was fun, like there definitely was a contingent of people who are like, we just want our core Pokemon games, and this is like
Yeah,
baby mode. And the kind of discussion that was surrounding Let's Go was that this was a spin-off and the next game was gonna be for the hardcore fans. And so everyone was like, okay, we'll forgive our misgivings with Let's Go because the next one, now there's no excuses.
yeah,
There's
and
no
and
excuses
also
not to go balls deep on the hardcore features because you've got the casual baby version over here. And didn't exactly pan out that way.
yeah, and when Sword and Shield was revealed earlier this year, people were like, "Oh, it looks all right." I mean, I wasn't expecting it to look amazing like Breath of the Wild or anything, but it looks like it'll be fun. And then like when the Pokemon Direct happened, we saw a new Pokemon. It was like, "Oh, cool! There's actually like roaming Pokemon in the world, and there's going to be these wild areas." But then the news came out with the National Dex stuff, and people were like, "Okay, that's what broke the camel's back for a lot of
Yeah.
people." They're like, okay, I'm not going to put up with any of this shit anymore.
I mean, we were covering E3 as it was happening, so we were like in the news when like they dropped a Pokemon stuff, and
Yeah,
the momentum was building upward. You know, it's like, oh my god, Nessa's super hot, new waifu confirmed, Wooloo memes everywhere. Like it was the press was good, and then the National Dex got dropped, and all of that goodwill instantly eroded. Nobody gives a shit about Wooloo anymore. Everybody's mad. Your waifus can't even save you. It's that's when you know you fucked up big time. Okay,
yeah,
so
and then
Paleo, before
hmm?
we even go further, do you personally give a shit about National Dex?
I
Let's
do, because the thing is, back when Generation 5 came out, and also Generation 4, I was like actually actively collecting every Pokemon, and I still have all the Pokemon that I had back then on my black version. I just never transferred them to X or Y. Um,
Okay, so you're the kind of person that's like, yeah, I would use this. And so this is
yeah,
personally affecting my game because I'm not. I'm the kind of person who like I'll catch like
because I
40 guys through a game and be like, I'm good. I beat the game. I'm here to beat animals up. I'm here for the animal cruelty. I'm not a collector. I'm an animal abuser. That's what I play these games for. I'm going to destroy little cute animals with flamethrowers. That's my goal. So
yeah, because for me, like filling out the Pokedex is like something to work towards.
it's definitely the end game, you know, or the post game, I
Yeah,
suppose. And I think that's really the big
yeah, and
problem.
that's another thing is that people have been complaining about with the last couple of generations is that there's like virtually no post game. Uh, when like generations 4 and 5 had excellent post games.
Yeah. Let's talk about 4 and 5 because like something that's really been interesting in the kind of ensuing conversation is the talk about how Game Freak has kind of dug themselves into a corner by going 3D, because like they're a studio that's relatively small. They don't have the best track record when it comes to like leveraging technology that's available. Like, you know, the story of Gold and Silver, like Iwata having to come in and like
Yeah.
save the fucking game. Looking at the code for Sun and Moon, there was like no asset library, so there's duplicate instances of like every asset in the game, which caused it to run like Duke. So like Game Freak is not a fantastic studio to go to for like benchmarking hardware or anything like that, you know, pushing it to its limits.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting that like Gen 4 and 5, like those were like, especially like Black and White and Black and White 2, those are like pinnacle Pokemon, because it was still in a scope that was relatively manageable by a company like Game Freak. It didn't rely on like having to be visually impressive because it was still 2D. None of the Pokemon really needed to be animated. You just drew the sprites and then they kind of like
Yeah.
tweened them a little bit and like, oh, it's kind of animated, wink, wink, if you squint, you know, so like that was fine. And it let them free up all their time to make really interesting systems, really interesting map layouts. Like that was the real strong point of that game, was like the meat on its bones.
Yeah.
But ever since they went 3D with X and Y, everything has gotten a lot more threadbare because there's just so much more groundwork that needs to be set.
Yeah, and like with especially with Sun and Moon, it just feels like the game plays itself. Because I only just finished Moon this year because I couldn't get into it when I first started playing it when it came out, and even with X and Y, I didn't finish it the year it came out because like my friends were interested in getting it, and because it was like, oh yeah, the first 3D Pokemon game, like core Pokemon game, and I started playing it back when it came out in 2013, and I was like, something feels off about the game compared to what I've played before, and I didn't know what it was. I think they sort of learned the wrong lessons from the criticisms of Black and White, because a lot of the criticism of Black and White was like, oh man, you're only using the new Pokemon in this game until the post game, like after you beat I think the 8th gen leader. I can't remember if it's like after the 8th gen leader or after the Elite Four, but that's when you can catch other Pokemon in the game. But I like that fact because like I love seeing new Pokemon.
I think that was, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm not plugged into the Pokemon fandom, but I would think that now that the dust is settled and everyone's kind of far enough away from that to kind of examine it more objectively, I would think the consensus would be that that's the way to go, because that forces, that brings a whole new kind of metagame to you can't fall back on old strategies and old kind of habits if like the guys you've relied on for years and years aren't there. It's like, okay, this is a whole new kind of like set of rules I got to adjust myself to. That seems like it would make the game more interesting.
Yeah. And like, because for the last two generations, people have been complaining about like Kanto pandering, and that people are that the Game Freak's like trying to pander to the Gen 1ers and everything.
They're trying to bring Jax Blade back in. They just got to get him to buy a new Pokemon game somehow. They'll get it one day.
Yeah, he got a Let's Go Pikachu, but he didn't finish it.
Well, I mean, what a Gen 1er only plays through a game once, and that's it. They play through one version, and they'll never complete another one. It's interesting that you bring up X and Y, because like I had a similar experience when I got them. It's like I actually went out and bought myself a 2DS and my sister a 2DS, and I bought both of us a copy of X and Y because we were like ready. We were ready for this fucking game. This was 3D Pokemon. This is what we always wanted since we were 10 and 8 respectively. This was the dream. Here it was. We're going hard. And I remember being like, skates. That's kind of cool. And then like 3 days later, I never touched it again. So yeah, I don't really know. Like the special sauce wasn't there. And I kind of at the time chalked it up to my old man aversion to turn-based RPGs, because there were a lot of other turn-based games I couldn't really sink my teeth in too much anymore. Like I still have Final Fantasy VII that like someday I'll play, and I bought it and I haven't done it because I'm just like grinding. But I chalked it up at the time to just being a turn-based game, but I think it might have just been, now that we can examine it with all this history in between there and now, that it was just a game that didn't have the same magic as the previous titles.
Yeah, and I don't know what that is, because like with Black and White, I really love the story in Black and White. It has like really interesting characters, and it had this really interesting story about like, the Team Plasma is a team that wants to rid the world of like using Pokemon, which is interesting because they also use Pokemon. They're like all the evil teams in Pokemon are always hypocritical.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
just waiting for like I just want Team Rocket to just pull out a gun and just fucking shoot the 10-year-old main character in the head. And like, why didn't we do this 15 years ago? I guess guns don't exist. It's in the world of Pokemon, I suppose. I guess why would you even bother inventing guns if there were animals you could tame that had built-in flamethrowers? But it's interesting just because like we're talking about like the Gen 1 pandering, the nostalgia baiting, which is definitely on full display now. Looking at stuff like Pokemon Masters and Pokemon Go, they're both absolute. Like that's the interesting thing, right? Is that we're kind of at the point now. I mean, we've been there for a while, but like we have the perfect storm of like the Pokemon Company finally realizing that like you can psychologically manipulate people to spend money endlessly in games. They've realized that smartphones were a thing, and everybody has one, and like free apps make more money than any AAA game ever could. And Pokemon itself is been around long enough that you can start milking that nostalgia for everybody our age and like 5 years younger. We all fondly recall Pokemon Red and getting Pokemon Stadium for Christmas and all that kind of stuff. So you dangle Charmander in front of us, and all of a sudden our eyes light up and our wallets open and we become stupid. So I think they're just kind of switching gears and realizing that like instead of having to constantly continue to iterate and like run Game Freak through the mud to try and like, okay, build a whole new world, build a whole new set of monsters, we got to keep moving forward. At this point, they're just like, let's just look backwards and cash in on nostalgia. We've done all the hard work now. Like we can just throw Pikachu and Jigglypuff at everybody for the next 30 years. And we'll
I saw the there's a lot of posts in the Pokemon subreddit now, just memeing on Game Freak and everything. And then there's this gif of Pikachu laughing from the first episode. It says Pikachu knowing that he'll be in every Pokemon game no matter what.
Yeah, Pikachu's definitely on lock. They haven't announced anything about like the national Pokedex or nothing, the regional Pokedex for Sword and Shield yet, right?
That's they haven't said like how many there's going to be in the region, or like who's going to be in. We only know like from like trailers and stuff.
Yeah, they haven't talked a lot about it yet. It's interesting too because the game comes out in a few months, right? It's the end of the year, right?
In November.
It's a worldwide release, so we're not gonna be able to get any leaks from
Japan. Yeah, that's another thing that I think might have changed with the quality of the games, having worldwide releases. Because before it would always come out in Japan first, and then like a few months later it would come out in other regions.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much, because I mean, I guess if you're doing a worldwide release, like you're going to have to work on all the localizations simultaneously, which will definitely cut into development time, unless you're outsourcing that. But then that costs more money. Whereas before, you could just focus on getting the Japanese release done and then worry about localization after the fact.
Yeah, X and Y was the first one where they did a worldwide release.
Man, X and Y was like the kiss of death for the entire fucking franchise. The worst,
at least for the games.
3D. Didn't have worldwide release, so they'd fuck it up. I don't know, dude. So like my thought process, because I've made a video about this and it's coming out in a couple days, and you looked at the script and everything, gave it the A-OK because you're the Nintendo fanboy, so I figured I'd throw it by you first.
Yeah.
I think the Pokemon Company is just going all in on phones. I think that seems to be the direction they're going in. I think your smartphone is going to be the new Game Boy as far as the Pokemon Company is concerned, and maybe Nintendo as well, because they're putting a lot of their IP on phones now.
So it seems like Nintendo's caring a lot more than what the Pokemon Company does about their like first party titles, because like they're delaying Animal Crossing to make it better. They're adding playing with friends in multiplayer with Super Mario Maker 2, because there was a big outcry about that, saying like, why can't you play with your friends? So it's like, okay, well, we'll add it. And also another thing about Mario Maker 2, because I've been playing it a lot lately, how it was revealed shows how much we were actually listening. Because with the first game, the biggest request for a feature was slopes in the game, and they opened up with that when it was revealed. They're like, here you go, you can make slopes. So yeah,
that's I think the interesting thing, right, is like you look at something like the Mario Maker or Animal Crossing or these other franchises that Nintendo has in its stable. is that they are video games, you know, and so
Yeah.
like I mean,
Pokemon
obviously,
is
Pokemon's this
media
huge,
empire. Yeah.
titanic, mega fucking insane like dynasty, you know. So like it'll sell itself. If they fuck up Animal Crossing, like, and the game doesn't sell, well, like that's all Animal Crossing is that it's a
Yeah.
game series, you know. Like Pokemon, the core games at this point are just there to kind of like create new content that then proliferates into like backpacks and Lunchables for kids to buy.
Yeah,
Like
and
that's where all the money's
another
made.
thing is like they gotta have it out in time for all the other stuff that's coming out with the anime and the trading card game and merchandise and everything that Pokemon is.
Yeah, you know, imagine fucking Ash bombing
Like
around with
that's
Score
how
Bunny and there's no game.
Yeah, that's how it became like a worldwide phenomenon because they released it outside of Japan like a couple years later compared to like in Japan the games came out in 96.
Right.
It didn't come out everywhere else until 98. Because they were like, we can make this a huge fucking media empire, so let's do it. Like, release it with everything at once. And it became a worldwide phenomenon that way.
Yeah, I mean, it was no one can really argue at this point that the Pokemon Company isn't like fucking crushing it business wise. You know, these decisions are going to be good for their bottom line. The problem is that, you know, I'm a fucking gamer and I'm gonna rise up against this bullshit. So, you know, that's what I care about. Is I care about the art more than the business. And it's just sad because like Pokemon is big enough and it will make money. You know, they there's no reason they couldn't like put in the time and the effort to make this like the fucking wish fulfillment we've all wanted since like we were 10, of like a crazy huge giant scope console Pokemon RPG. Like they should have just gone across the room, knocked on Nintendo HQ's door and be like, "Hey, give us that Breath of the Wild engine. Let's plug Pikachu into it." That's all you had to do. That's all you fucking had to do. But no, of course we're not going to do that. Town, though.
Yeah.
Town is an like if you look, I mean, you look at Town compared to Swish. That's how I've been pronouncing it. I don't know if that's actually how people are saying it.
I don't know. I think they're just saying Sword and Shield because Swish sounds too much like Switch.
I'm saying Swish. I'm patenting it right now. I'm too lazy to say Sword and Shield in my script over and over again, so I just say Swish. That's what it looks like, right? SWSH Swish.
Yeah.
But okay, fuck it. So the reason, oh god, what was I even saying? Town looks way better visually.
Oh
than
yeah,
Sword
it
and
does.
Shield. Like it has real-time cell shading. Like the textures are way more detailed. The characters are like look like alive and not like marionettes. It's very striking that there's such a huge difference. Like you would think if they're building these games in concert, they would run on the same engine, and maybe they are, but it doesn't look like they're running on the same engine.
No, I don't.
There's no real-time shading on the Sword and Shield models. There's none of the extra detail.
Yeah,
like,
when I saw Town revealed, I was like, "Oh, is this what the new Pokemon's gonna look like?" And it doesn't.
Like why not? Why not just use the same grass textures? They're both hand-painted games. Just use the same grass. It's fine. I don't understand. I don't get it. I mean, I know there's two different teams working on these games, but like Game Freak has said that there's like interplay. There's communication between these two teams. It's like, why not share assets if you have two huge titles coming out at the same time? But you just look at Sword and Shield and it just looks like people. There was like a screenshot I saw on like a Reddit thread of people having screenshots of Sword and Shield and then compared to Dragon Quest like 8, the one that came out on PS2. And it blew the fucking Pokemon game out of the water. Like there was way more detail in like the foliage and everything. I'm like, oh, come on, guys, come on, please stop.
Yeah, and another thing about the excuses for not being able to transfer Pokemon part of the national dex is pretty stupid.
It's very dumb. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, like high quality animations. They're the same animations from the 3DS.
I mean, I can't put enough quotation marks around animation, so I won't even try. But like, yeah. There's nothing different. I was seeing there was an interesting video I was watching, basically like, you know, tooling all over Game Freak, and they were like laughing at some of the people defending the company, and someone was saying like, oh yeah, the reason the animations look like that is because they're playing at E3 with the battle animations off. I'm like, oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure that's how they want to showcase their brand new game to the world, by turning off a bunch of graphical features. Sounds like a great idea. But like, when your game looks that poor that this is a logical defense that somebody is going to come to, not great, not good. Might want to go fix that a little bit, guys.
Yeah, it's weird because like they made 720 something models for X and Y, and they made them like super high quality so that way they could be future proofed. So that way when they go to future titles and also like other consoles, that they would still look good. And they are the same models, as far as I'm aware, being used in Sword and Shield.
Right.
It just with like different shaders and textures and everything.
Yeah, they're gonna need way higher resolution textures because the Switch is HD versus like QVGA or something on the 3DS.
Yeah, but that's why a lot of different battles, especially like horde battles in X and Y, ran like shit on the 3DS. Because the models were like so high quality. And so you're not going to use those that you called them future proof before. Why are you not using them?
I don't know. The interesting thing is that we don't know what the regional dex looks like. So for all we know, there could be like 300 of those models already in there. So they could still be using a huge chunk of them. It's hard to say. Not all of them, so still a fail, but we just don't know how big of a fail. Like, is this like an F+ or like a D-? We're not sure. But the work involved in making these new models, because they're obviously going to be adding more Pokemon, and I don't think they've given us a raw number yet of the new Pokemon.
Yeah, the last couple of generations, there's only been like not that many. Because with X and Y, it was like 70 something. With Sun and Moon, it was about 70 something. But then they also added the regional variants with the Alolan forms.
Right.
But that was more Kanto pandering, in my opinion.
But I liked Igloo Sandshrew. But I'm assuming that they're probably going to be in the ballpark of 50 to 70 again with this title.
Yeah.
And then they'll probably fill the rest out with, the fan favorites, a lot of Gen 1 representation.
Yeah.
But because here's the thing, right? Like, if this is like your big Pokemon game, and it's your big reveal, like your first home console one, and not only are you only going to make, your regional dex, you're not going to have a national dex, but then the bulk of that regional dex is probably going to be made of models you've already created. What exactly is taking up all their time and resources at this point? Like, making sure Nessa's tits are like perfect? I mean, I'm fine with that. If you want to put the effort where I really want it to go, more power to you, but it seems like there might be more pressing matters. And if you only are going to add like 70 new Pokemon, that means you're only modeling 70 new guys. And that's not a lot. Most AAA games have 70 unique models. Granted, they're probably mostly humanoid, so they can, reuse the armatures and the base meshes and all that stuff. But this is a big game. This is the biggest media thing in all of video games is Pokemon. I think you could, bring on a few extra.
It's the biggest media franchise in the world.
Right. Like, go to Nintendo and be like, yo, Papa N, we need a couple extra contractors to get these models done. Give us the money. And they'll be like, okay. I don't understand. I would love to be at the boardroom meeting when they decided, hey, let's just gimp this entire fucking game. Let's just kill it. Let's just kill it completely. It's got Pikachu. It's got Charmander. Are there any more Pokemon? I don't think so. We're done. Ship it.
Yeah.
But Nessa's there, so like that's the best thing to ever come out of Pokemon ever. So I'll buy it for her. It's fine. Done.
Yeah, this might be the first generation where I just don't buy it at launch.
Well, it's super easy right now to kind of get sucked into like the anti-hype, I suppose, the nega hype. And be like, this is gonna be the fucking worst game ever. This is fucking gay. Dynamaxing, all they're doing is scaling up the bottles.
Oh, that's another thing. Dynamaxing, fucking like when because the first Pokemon Direct, it was before the whole National Dex thing came into the light. With the Pokemon Direct, I was looking at Dynamaxing. I was like, okay, It's like fine. It's like I guess this is your gimmick for this game.
It is totally a gimmick, but as a huge fan of kaiju, I'm just like every Pokemon's a kaiju, and I'm 100% for it. Like I'm totally biased. Don't listen to me. It is gay. I am being stupid for liking it, but I do like it. I want to get a Tyranitar. I want to fucking Dynamax it, and maybe I won't be able to do it because he won't be in the national decks. Who fucking knows?
Well, he was confirmed because he's in one of the trailers.
Yes,
walking around.
Godzilla. Yeah. Just need a Torterra, have Gamera, and then we can have the ultimate battle. Finally.
Haven't seen Torterra though. Might not be in.
Shit. God. Another avenue. Godzilla or Gamera will never happen. But yeah, it's just I don't even remember what my initial point was I was making with that. I was saying, it's easy to get on the anti-hype train, but the games could still be really good despite that. Because again, from my perspective, I don't ever use the national decks really anyways. Like I play these games, to punch things with animals. Like that's kind of why I like them so much, which is also why I'm kind of interested in Masters, even though I know it's going to be a microtransaction shit show. But the idea that it's like, hey, want to just punch things? And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm here for. I want to be the very best, like no one ever was. That's my angle. So that game looks interesting to me. But like, if Sword and Shield can deliver on like the core gameplay, well, I will be okay with it. I'm assuming that what's going to happen is the game's going to come out. Everyone's going to pitch a fit. They're going to be really mad about it, like all the hardcore people. But the game's going to review super well on like the mainstream. Like IGN's going to give it a decent rating because like they're going to play it for like 5 hours. They're not even going to finish it, I'm sure. So like the national deck won't even be a concern for them. The Metacritic rating will be good. It'll sell well because nobody will care. And Game Freak will get away scot clean with everything because it's all fine. And then they'll have DLC. They'll charge you like $10 to get the national decks, and there'll be a huge other outcry. And it'll be hilarious.
Yeah. Or but no, they wouldn't. They do DLC. They just make another game.
Oh, they'll make Broadsword and Kite Shield, and they'll have the national decks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's another thing. The legendaries in this game, they look terrible. I don't like them.
They look like Digimon, and I mean that in the worst possible way. That's coming from a huge Digimon fan, but they look. And
this thing is like
Digimon.
This is coming from someone who would complain about the people complaining about other legendaries looking like Digimon, like when like Palkia and Dialga came out for the Generation 4 for Diamond and Pearl. Right. It was like, oh, they look like Digimon. I was like, I don't think so. Even in like a bunch of other ones, I'm like, no, I don't think they look like Digimon. But these ones, I'm like, these just look. They're not that busy. Well designed.
They're very busy. The color palette is too busy. There's too many.
And also the box art just looks very plain.
The box art looks like a parody drawing from a thumbnail on like a Newgrounds animation. Like it doesn't look like official artwork at all. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's weird because like the background just looks very plain compared to what was on Sun and Moon and X and Y.
Right. They had like these like, they for the reveal of the legendaries, they had these full like CG renders. So I'd assume they would just use the CG renders for the art, but it's like, no, they let their 5-year-old son draw them and put them on the cover instead. So that was kind of weird. I don't know what's going on in Game Freak. They're just working on town. Everything else, they're just phoning it in. They're working on town 9 to 5, and then like, give Pikachu a brighter yellow. Okay, we're done. That seems to be what they're doing. Like everything looks like a 3DS. Like it doesn't look like a Switch game at all. It literally looks like a 3DS game. Like I would be completely unsurprised if like someone like ends up like digging into the code of the game and like start pulling stuff out of there and be like, oh, this is the same exact assets that were in like Sun and Moon. Like this texture for the grass is the fucking Sun and Moon grass texture, and like these geometry is the 3DS geometry. It's just that again because it looks exactly like that.
Yeah,
you fucked up, Nintendo. If you're gonna reuse the same models, at least reuse the Pokemon Stadium models. They moved and did things. It's fine. I'll take it. I'm that desperate. Dude, I saw a video. I never even played Battle Revolution ever before. Like I just knew that it existed, but I never saw anything.
I had Battle Revolution. I never played the Coliseum or Gale of Darkness, though I hear they're pretty great.
Dude, I was watching videos of
Battle Revolution. I actually got that like the animations and stuff are great, but
that's what I mean. I just saw it. I was like, It's like there was a video and the guy was showing footage of Battle Revolution, and like Blaziken like did a double kick and it went up and kicked them in the face. I'm like, what the fuck? This doesn't happen in Pokemon. They actually took the time to animate a kick when a Pokemon kicked, and then they played the fucking double kick from Score Bunny after it. I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
God.
I do have a problem with Battle Revolution though, because that disappointed me. Because I was expecting something like Coliseum or Gale of Darkness, or even Pokemon the Stadium games, because they had like a lot more content in it. Battle Revolution was very, very devoid of content. Well, that's why I was disappointed in it.
Well, I mean, Game Freak or whoever the fuck can make can only do so much. They gave you the good double kick animation, but they just it's like
well, the thing is, like with those games that were the spin-off games, they weren't made by Game Freak.
Right.
So, yeah.
Who did Battle Revolution? I don't even know. It wasn't Creatures, was it? I don't think so. It's probably outsourced to like somebody. Was that? No, that wasn't like, didn't like Capcom or Namco do like a Pokemon game at some point? Was that Pokken Tournament? Or am I thinking?
That's Pokemon Tournament. Yeah.
All right. Fuck. Too many of these goddamn games.
Yeah, Genius Sonority? I don't know what that is.
I don't know either. Guess it doesn't matter. Do we have anything else to say? Is there anything else that needs to be, any other way we need to crucify Game Freak? Have we left anything out? Corviknight is the coolest Pokemon ever.
It is pretty cool. That's one thing the thing I love most about Pokemon is seeing new designs, and I love seeing new Pokemon, and Corviknight is a really good one.
He looks like something out of Dark Souls. Like it looks like Knight Artorias is like familiar or something. He's fucking sick. I like him. 10 out of 10 design. Might be dethroning Sandile as my favorite Pokemon. It's very possible. He's just so edgy. Speaks to my soul.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the news coming out the next few months before release.
Yeah,
I'm still hoping for a Dolphin Pokemon. It's not going to make me any less mad at them though.
Isn't like this based on Europe? Europe's like a landlocked thing, dude.
Yeah, well, it's based on Britain.
Oh,
it's just like the UK.
It's an island.
Yeah,
you got hope then, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't do it for fucking Hawaii, so I don't know. I
don't know why they didn't do it for Hawaii. It makes no sense why they didn't make one.
They'll make like a teacup Pokemon before they'll make a Dolphin at this rate.
There hasn't been like a Pokemon based on a cetacean since Gen 3. So,
look, Nintendo. I know you're in Japan and you guys have this weird thing with dolphins, but the rest of the world does exist. All right.
Yeah, I think they've done like every other marine mammal except for dolphins, because they've done like I guess dugong would count as a dugong or manatee, maybe.
Yeah,
it's sort of one. Yeah, and then like Oshawott, an otter, and there's also like weasel, which is sort of an otter type thing, but it's more like a water weasel or whatever. But and then there's Poplio with the sea lion.
That's true.
So
just dolphins.
And Spheal, and up to like Walrein is a walrus. So yeah, there's a lot of marine mammal Pokemon, but no dolphin. Gorbis isn't a dolphin. It's a pipe fish.
I've said it every time, dude. But Dolphimon's existed for like 20 years. Digimon.
I know Dolphimon's great.
I'm just saying, Digimon's better than Pokemon. Confirmed.
Oh, there reminds me. There's going to be like a Digimon like Sabrith Sleuth like complete edition coming out for the Switch or something.
Ooh.
Or the Switch or PS4. But I know like another thing like Digimon Survive, whatever that's gonna be, is Digimon also coming out.
That sounds edgy as fuck.
Yeah, I just hope it isn't like Metal Gear Survive.
Oh no. We don't talk about that ever. Just think about it. No matter how bad Pokemon Sword and Shield is, it will not destroy a franchise as bad as Metal Gear Survive did. It can't be. It's impossible. Oh, yeah. So take solace in that, Pokemon fans. I was a big Metal Gear guy, so the fucking blow that did to me is beyond anything you will ever fucking possibly understand. At least Nintendo still makes video games. At least they didn't say, hey, check out this graphically mind-blowing Pokemon pachinko machine like they did with the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, but it was just a pachinko machine with the real-time visuals of the most emotionally potent part of the entire game. You fucking bastards! I'm still mad about that.
I can tell. Yeah, I think that's it. I can't think of anything right now. As far as the Pokemon stuff goes.
Yeah, we covered most of the bases. If you want to hear more structured about Pokemon, I did a whole video that'll probably be out by the time this is up. If
Yeah,
you're posting it
I'll
like
link it in
immediately.
a card in
And
this.
it's pretty good. Paleo okayed the script, so if it's good enough, Paleo, it's good enough for you.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. I'll see you guys next time. Check out Tom's channel, I Am Games.
Yeah, it's great. I promise.
Yeah, and see you some other time. Bye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, by now we're getting a bit used to winter. We're like soldiers in the middle of a campaign, growing hardened to discomfort and better able to save.